Imagine discovering that there's a secret code in the masculine mind, 4 psychological positions that every man desperately desires, but most women never experience. Carl Jung spent decades studying the human psyche and discovered something fascinating. Men and women operate on completely different emotional frequencies, creating an abyss of misunderstanding that sabotages relationships before they even begin. Here's the brutal truth no one tells you. While you're trying to be the perfect woman, independent, strong, always in control, you're unconsciously denying him exactly what his masculine soul craves most. And this has nothing to do with submission or manipulation games. We're talking about 4 deep psychological positions that activate something primitive and powerful in his mind. When a woman understands and applies these positions, she doesn't just transform the relationship, she awakens a level of devotion and connection that most women will never experience. The question is, are you ready to discover what really happens in the masculine mind when no one is watching? Because once you understand these 4 positions, you'll never see relationships the same way again.
The position of vulnerability is the catalyst that unlocks a yearning in many men, a yearning that's so powerful it can alter the course of relationships. The position of vulnerability is a deeply understood aspect of male psychology, revealing how this position can hold the key to unlocking a man's heart and forging an unbreakable bond. Ladies, listen closely, because this knowledge can transform your encounters, making you truly unforgettable in the world of dating. The first position that men beg for, but women rarely offer, is the position of emotional vulnerability. And here's the paradox Jung identified. The stronger a man appears externally, the more he yearns for a space where he can drop all defenses. Think about it. From childhood, men are conditioned to be rocks. Never cry, always solve, never show weakness. But Jung discovered something revolutionary through the concept of the anima, the unconscious feminine part present in every man. This anima carries all the emotions, sensitivities, and vulnerabilities he was forced to repress. Here's what happens in practice. When a man finds a woman who can hold his emotional space without judgment, without trying to fix or minimize his feelings, something magical happens. He doesn't just open up, he becomes devoted in a way that transcends the physical or intellectual. But most women make a fatal mistake. When he finally opens up, they go into problem solver mode, or worse yet, use that vulnerability against him in future arguments. It's like offering water to someone dying of thirst and then throwing poison in the cup. The true position of vulnerability requires you to become an emotional container, a sacred space where he can process his deepest emotions without fear of judgment or consequences. This doesn't mean you become his therapist, but rather that you honor the courage he demonstrates by showing himself completely human. When you master this position, you don't just gain access to his heart, you become irreplaceable. Because men can find passion, they can find companionship, but they rarely find a woman who can hold their vulnerability with the reverence it deserves.
The position of admiration when he wants to be your hero. The second position reveals a psychological truth that Jung called the archetypal need of the hero. Every man carries within himself the primitive impulse to be admired, not for superficial achievements, but for his fundamental masculine essence. And here's what most women don't understand. Admiration is not flattery. Let's get straight to the point. Men are driven by purpose and recognition. When a man feels he is genuinely admired by a woman, not for what he does, but for who he is, something activates in his nervous system that is almost addictive. It's as if you'd found the exact frequency that resonates with his masculine soul. But here's where modern women stumble. We've been conditioned to believe that admiring a man is anti-feminist, or that it will inflate his ego dangerously. Jung identified this as the feminine shadow, the unconscious fear that recognizing masculine greatness diminishes our own power. The reality is exactly the opposite. When you learn to admire strategically, highlighting his leadership qualities, his capacity for protection, his emotional strength in difficult moments, you're not diminishing yourself. You're activating the best in him and simultaneously positioning yourself as the woman who truly sees him. Here's a practical example. Instead of saying, "Thanks for fixing this," try, "I feel so safe knowing I can count on your problem-solving ability." The difference is subtle, but psychologically devastating. In the first case, you're thanking an action. In the second, you're recognizing an essential quality of his. Men who feel genuinely admired by their partners become amplified versions of themselves. They try harder, protect more, love more intensely. Because you're not just dating him, you've become the witness to his greatness, and that's something he'll do anything to preserve. The position of admiration transforms you from just another girlfriend to the woman who makes me feel like the man I always knew I could be. And that's a position of power that few women truly understand.
The third position is perhaps the most counterintuitive and powerful. Men secretly desire women to take leadership in specific areas of life. Jung called this the dance of opposites, where true feminine power doesn't compete with masculine energy, but complements it masterfully. Here's the truth that will shock you. Men spend all day making decisions, solving problems, carrying responsibilities. When they come home, a deep part of them yearns to surrender control to someone they trust completely. But this only happens when they feel you're capable of leading with wisdom, not with drama or emotional chaos. The position of surrender doesn't mean he becomes passive. It means he trusts your feminine leadership capacity so much that he can relax his masculine hypervigilance. It's as if you become the safe harbor where he can finally stop being the strong man 24 hours a day. But here's where most women go wrong. They confuse feminine leadership with neurotic control. True feminine leadership is intuitive, emotional, based on relational wisdom. It's when you say, "Trust me on this," and he actually trusts, because you've consistently demonstrated that your decisions come from a place of love and intuition, not ego or insecurity. Think about areas like social planning, home decisions, emotional direction of the relationship. When you take leadership in these domains with confidence and competence, something interesting happens. He doesn't feel diminished, he feels liberated. Liberated to focus his masculine energy where it's most needed, knowing you're taking care of the relational aspects with mastery. Jung observed that the happiest couples operate in this fluid dance of leadership, where each leads in areas of their natural strength, without ego or competition. When you master the position of surrender, you're not asking him to submit. You're offering your feminine leadership as a gift, and he surrenders because he recognizes your superior competence in these areas. If you're starting to realize how these positions can completely transform your relationship dynamic, leave a comment below telling us which of these three positions surprised you most. And if you want to discover the fourth and most powerful position, the one that creates an almost magnetic connection, keep watching, because what comes next will change your perspective on intimacy forever.
The position of raw authenticity when he drops all masks. The fourth and most transformative position is that of raw authenticity, the sacred space where a man finally removes all masks and reveals his true self. Jung dedicated years to studying the concept of persona versus authentic self, and discovered that men live imprisoned in layers of social expectations that disconnect them from their real essence. Here's the devastating truth. Most men have never experienced a relationship where they can be completely authentic. They spend their entire lives performing, the successful professional, the strong man, the reliable provider. But underneath this carefully constructed persona exists a complex human being with fears, dreams, contradictions, and a vulnerability he rarely dares to show. The position of raw authenticity happens when you create an energetic field so safe and non-judgmental that he naturally begins to reveal deeper layers of himself. It's not something you ask for or demand. It's something that emerges when he feels he can be imperfect, contradictory, even weak without losing your love or respect. But here's what separates ordinary women from magnetic women: your ability to not just tolerate but celebrate masculine complexity. When he reveals that he has insecurities about work, that he sometimes feels lost, that he has dreams that seem impossible, your reaction determines whether he opens up even more or closes off forever. Most women unconsciously punish masculine authenticity. They become uncomfortable when he shows uncertainty, or try to fix his fears, or worse, use these revelations as ammunition in future arguments. It's like asking someone to remove their armor and then attacking exactly where they're unprotected. When you master the position of raw authenticity, something almost magical happens. He doesn't just become more open, he becomes addicted to the feeling of being completely accepted. You become the only place in the world where he can exist without performance, without masks, without the constant exhaustion of trying to be enough. Jung observed that this is the deepest form of human intimacy, not physical, not emotional, but existential. It's when two people meet at the soul level, where all pretenses disappear and only the raw truth of who they really are remains. Men who experience this position with a woman develop a loyalty that transcends physical attraction or superficial compatibility. Because you're not just dating his persona, you're loving his most authentic self, and that's something he'll protect with his life.
These four positions, vulnerability, admiration, surrender, and raw authenticity, are not manipulation techniques. They are invitations to a completely new way of relating based on the deep understanding of the masculine psyche that Jung revealed through decades of research. The truth is that most women spend their entire lives trying to conquer men through superficial strategies, appearance, psychological games, or trying to be the perfect woman. But men don't fall in love with perfection. They devote themselves to women who understand and honor their emotional complexity. When you integrate these four positions, you're not just improving your current relationship, you're becoming the type of woman that high-quality men desperately seek but rarely find. You become irreplaceable, not because you're perfect, but because you offer something that modern society rarely teaches: true understanding of the masculine soul. Here are your 3 practical actions to start today. First, identify which of these 4 positions you most avoid. This resistance usually reveals where your greatest potential for growth lies. Second, choose a specific situation this week to experiment with one of these positions. Start small, perhaps offering genuine admiration for a quality you truly value in him. Third, observe your own reaction when he shows vulnerability or authenticity. Your response in that moment determines whether he opens up more or closes off. Remember, conscious relationships don't happen by chance. They are created by women who understand that true feminine power doesn't compete with masculine energy. It awakens, directs, and transforms it. Jung once said,
everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. These 4 positions aren't just about understanding men. They're about discovering aspects of your own feminine power that you may never have known you possessed. If this content resonated with you and you want to continue this journey of conscious relationships and authentic feminine empowerment, subscribe to the Whispering Wisdom channel. Here we explore the depths of the human psyche, relationships, and personal transformation with the wisdom of great thinkers like Carl Jung. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any insights that can transform not just your relationships, but your entire life. Your journey of self-discovery and personal power is just beginning.